Hey guys, Matt here from Loon Outdoors. Today we're going to be tying a little smolt pattern. I call it the swimmer smolt. It's going to be tied on an FW580 from Ahrex. And we're going to be using a 1/8 size Instajig tungsten bead in a black, which is kind of like a cool smoky black color. We're going to be using 50D GSP from Veevus. And what I'm going to do here is flip this bead over so it goes into a keeling orientation, which is what it's designed for. These beads are also really cool for creating winged cases and making any fly that you currently have into a hook point up styled fly. Go ahead and trim off the excess and we'll just take a few turns back. Don't need to go too deep into the bend here. Some ice dub minnow belly is going to help cover up our tracks and provide a nice kind of a greenish blue UV reflective body inside this fly. It's a very small amount of dubbing. We'll advance forward in front of the bead, and I'll go ahead and half hitch here just to secure while I'm checking everything. Next up, we'll use a little bit more of the ice dub minnow belly. I like it a lot, but I'm going to use it in a more of a stringy application here. I didn't straighten it or stack it and make it equal. I've left it tapered, if you guys can follow that. And I'm going to take a few fibers of this down either side of the bead, helping to create just a little bit of flash. If your fish don't like it, leave the flash out in this stage. Next up is some Senyo laser hair in a 4-inch. And again, I'm not going to stack this. I want it to be tapered and create a nice, longer body. So you can see here I'm unevening the fibers. So we'll have a little bit that goes back, and then we'll fold over and do it again. So now that we've folded this back over, you can see that jig bead will be kind of prominent in there, but it's not really going to upset anything. So I'm going to bring in some fluorescent hot pink laser hair. This is going to create our pink stripe. This would be a great fly for bass and stripers and even bigger trout that are down to eat some of their own. So you can see that kind of prominent head tapering out, and right here I'm just running it up and doing a slight taper job on that material as well. Once I have that secured in place, go ahead and check our work. And I'm going to go ahead at this point and I'll flip it over. And you can see I actually take the hook and put it in at a different point. I use the opposite bend. I haven't had any ill effects from this, but it just helps me to brush those fibers over the top. This is laser hair in a light olive, and we're just trying to segment our way up, create more of a gradient than anything. And this is actually the dubbing variation, so it's much smaller, and that's going to kind of just help create bulk, but without too much tail, if that makes sense. So it's going to kind of stop short, but you'll get a little bit more of that body variation in the front of the fly. We're going to over the top with a medium olive. Again, this is going to be the 4-inch version. This is a really cool fiber. It's light, it's playful, moves well in the water is what I mean by playful. And it doesn't hold any water, so the fly maintains a great level of castability. Easily at home throwing this on like a 6 weight or a overrated 5, which there's a lot of them out there these days. Lastly, we're going to do a black olive. This is going to create our the top. And you can see it's just very subtle shade differences between the two, and this one will be quite more drastic. So we kind of do the same program here. We're just kind of creating the taper by shifting the materials between our fingers. I'm going to go ahead and whip finish now. Fly's not going to go anywhere, and we're going to have to apply some eyes and some UV resin to hold it all together. The eyes can be up to you based on what you want to tie with, but at the end of the day, it's really not going to make a huge difference. I'm using some living eyes. If you're tying this in like a bait fish for saltwater fishing, a lot of times I'd recommend using a red eye. A lot of bait fish do get flushed and bloodshot eyes when they are scared or nervous, which is part of their fight or flight. So I come in with flow. I like to use the flow in here to stabilize. It'll kind of seep in and adhere to both the back of the eyes, and it also acts as a head cement for your thread wraps. So I come in here and I keep building a little bit with flow. UV resins are so quick to set up nowadays, and there's no real reason to not build layers. You know, it's taking 5 to 15 seconds to get these glues to set up now. So when I go in for the big head build, I'll actually use some thin, and that's when I'm going to coat over the eyes, wrap around. I'll go back over the material kind of like where the gill plates are, and then I'll just gently rotate to make sure it's even, and that'll be how we create our head. Kind of gently massage some of the materials out. It's got a nice, it's going to be nice and darty, move around a bunch in the water for you. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.